You are God's chosen one to receive great blessings in your life. And that truth does not arrive as a loud trumpet blast from the heavens, but as a quiet certainty that settles into the soul when all other noises fall away. Chosen does not mean spared from struggle, nor does it suggest a life wrapped in ease and comfort. It means something far more demanding and far more beautiful, that your life has been deliberately touched by purpose. Long before you learned to name your fears, long before you understood how fragile hope can feel, you were already known, already seen, already held in a plan larger than your understanding. The hands that shaped the stars did not overlook you, and the voice that called light out of darkness has spoken meaning into your days, even the ones that feel empty or broken. There is a temptation to believe that being chosen should feel extraordinary every moment, as though faith should constantly burn like a steady flame. Yet the truth is that the chosen often walk through shadows, not because they are forgotten, but because light is being prepared to shine more clearly through them. Blessings do not always announce themselves as gifts at first. Sometimes they arrive disguised as delays, as closed doors, as seasons where nothing seems to move no matter how hard you pray. But still, in those moments, you are not abandoned. You are being shaped. A soul prepared for great blessing must first be taught how to carry weight without breaking, how to trust without seeing, how to love without applause. Consider how often we mistake comfort for favor. We assume that if God is pleased, life will be smooth, predictable, manageable. Yet the story written across history tells us otherwise. Those set apart were often led into uncertainty before they ever stepped into abundance. They learned obedience in the dark before they recognized the shape of the promise in the light. If you feel stretched, challenged, or pressed on every side, it may not be a sign that you are off the path, but that you are precisely where you need to be. The blessing is not merely what you receive, it is who you are becoming along the way. You are chosen not because you are flawless, but because grace delights in working through fragile vessels. The world trains us to measure worth by performance, by comparison, by visible success. God measures differently. He looks at the heart that keeps turning back to Him even after disappointment. He honors the prayer whispered through tears as much as the praise shouted from victory. When you stumble, you are not disqualified. When you doubt, you are not dismissed. Chosen does not mean perfect, it means pursued. It means that even when you wander, mercy goes looking for you, calling you home again. There is a particular loneliness that often accompanies calling. You may find that others do not fully understand your convictions, your restraint, your hope. You may feel out of step with the rush of the world, as though you are walking to a different rhythm altogether. This is not accidental. A life prepared for great blessing often learns to listen more closely to a quieter voice. While others chase what sparkles, you are being taught to value what endures. While others grasp for control, you are learning surrender. This slow, often painful education is not wasted. It is building a foundation strong enough to support what is coming. Blessings, when they arrive, do not simply change circumstances, they reveal character. What God gives you will magnify what has already been formed within you. That is why preparation matters so deeply. A heart trained in humility can receive abundance without losing its soul. A spirit grounded in gratitude can experience success without becoming proud. You are being shaped for stewardship, not indulgence. The blessing is meant to flow through you, not stop with you. And this requires a heart that understands responsibility as well as joy. You may look at your present situation and wonder how it connects to anything great. The days may seem repetitive, ordinary, even dull. Yet greatness in God's economy often grows unnoticed. Like roots spreading beneath the soil, nothing appears to be happening above ground, but beneath the surface, strength is forming. Faithfulness in small things is never small. Each act of obedience, each moment of trust, each choice to forgive when it would be easier to harden your heart, is shaping a future you cannot yet see. The blessing does not arrive fully formed in a single moment. It unfolds layer by layer as you are ready to receive it. Being chosen also means being called to courage. There will be moments when fear suggests you are not enough, that you have waited too long, that the promise has passed you by. These lies sound convincing because they speak to your weariness. But fear is not the voice of truth. Truth speaks with steadiness, reminding you that time does not limit God, that delays are not denials, and that what is meant for you cannot be stolen by another. Your story is not behind schedule. It is unfolding with precision, even when it feels painfully slow. There is something sacred about waiting when it is anchored in trust. Waiting does not mean inactivity of the soul. It means active dependence. It is choosing to believe that God is working even when you cannot trace His hand. It is resisting the urge to force outcomes and instead allowing wisdom to lead. This kind of waiting refines desire. It strips away what is shallow and leaves behind what is essential. When the blessing comes, you will recognize it not as something you earned, but as something you were prepared to receive. You are chosen to carry light into places that may not welcome it at first. Your life is meant to be a quiet testimony that hope is not naive, that faith is not weakness, that love is not wasted. People may never hear all your prayers, but they will feel the difference your presence makes. They will notice the peace that steadies you, the compassion that softens you, the resilience that keeps you standing. These are not accidents of personality, they are signs of grace at work within you. It is important to remember that blessing does not always look like elevation in the eyes of the world. Sometimes it looks like contentment where others are restless, clarity where others are confused, peace where others are frantic. These are not lesser gifts. They are evidence of a life aligned with something eternal. When your heart is anchored in God, circumstances lose their power to define you. You become free to live with open hands, receiving with gratitude and releasing with trust. You may carry wounds from seasons where you felt overlooked, misunderstood, or forgot. Those wounds do not disqualify you from blessing. They deepen your capacity to appreciate it. Compassion is often born from pain, and empathy from loss. What you have endured has not been wasted. God does not redeem us by erasing our past, but by weaving it into a story that makes sense in the light of His purpose. Even the parts you would rather forget can become sources of wisdom and strength. As a chosen one, you are invited into a life of continual transformation. Faith is not a static possession, but a living relationship that grows, stretches, and matures over time. There will be seasons of certainty and seasons of questioning. Neither defines your worth. What matters is your willingness to keep turning toward God, to keep listening, to keep trusting, even when understanding feels just out of reach. Growth often happens at the edge of what is comfortable. Great blessings require a heart that can remain soft in a hard world. It is easy to become cynical, to protect yourself by lowering expectations and numbing hope. Yet you are called to something braver. You are called to believe again, to hope again, to love again, not because life has proven easy, but because God has proven faithful. This kind of courage is quiet but powerful. It changes not only your own life, but the atmosphere around you. There is a sacred mystery in how God chooses to work through ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. You do not need to have all the answers, nor do you need to say the entire path ahead. You need only to take the next faithful step. Obedience in the present moment opens doors you cannot yet imagine. The blessing often waits on the other side of a simple yes, a quiet act of trust, a decision to keep going when stopping would be easier. Remember that being chosen does not place you above others, it places you in service to them. The blessing entrusted to you is meant to be shared through kindness, generosity, and truth. Your life becomes a channel through which grace flows into a world desperate for it. This is not a burden meant to crush you, but an honor meant to lift you into deeper purpose. And so, if you find yourself standing at a crossroads of expectation and uncertainty, take heart. The very longing you feel is evidence that you were made for more than survival. You were made for communion, for purpose, for a life infused with meaning that reaches beyond what can be seen. God's blessings are not random acts of fortune, they are intentional expressions of love, tailored to the soul receiving them. Even now, as you listen to these words, Something within you may be stirring, a quiet recognition that this message is not meant for just anyone, but for you, in this precise moment of your journey. That stirring is not imagination, it is invitation. An invitation to trust more deeply, to hope more boldly, to prepare your heart for what is unfolding. You may not see the full picture yet, but you are being led step by step into a future shaped by grace. And as you continue to walk, to wait, and to trust, you will begin to notice how every seemingly small moment has been aligning you for a blessing that will meet you not as a stranger, but as something your soul has been quietly preparing for all along. And in that unfolding journey, you will come to understand that the choosing was never about sudden arrival, but about the steady becoming, about learning to see with eyes refined by faith, to hear with a heart attuned to truth, and to stand firm even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain, knowing that what is being built within you is strong enough to carry what is about to be placed into your hands. And as that realization deepens, you may find yourself standing on the edge of a moment that feels both familiar and new, as though you have been here before in prayer and longing, and now the path ahead opens just enough for you to take another step, trusting that the same hand that has guided you this far will continue to lead you forward into the unfolding purpose that has been patiently waiting for you, even as the story continues to breathe, to grow, and to call you onward, without yet revealing where the next turn will lead. As you stand within this unfolding story, it becomes clear that faith is not merely something you hold in your mind, but something you learn to live with your whole being. It shapes how you respond to silence, how you interpret delay, how you endure seasons that test your patience. You begin to notice that God often speaks most clearly not through dramatic signs, but through steady guidance, through an inner alignment that draws you toward what is good and true, even when it costs you something. This quiet leading is not weakness, it is strength refined, strength that does not need spectacle to prove its power. There will be days when the weight of expectation feels heavy, when you wonder whether you have misunderstood the call, whether you imagined promise because your heart longed for meaning. In those moments, remember that doubt does not erase calling, it often accompanies it. A shallow life rarely questions its direction. It is the soul reaching towards something higher that pauses to examine its steps. Questioning can become a doorway to deeper trust if you allow it to lead you back to prayer rather than away from it. You may notice how your desires have changed over time. What once satisfied you now feels insufficient, and what once seemed important now feels strangely hollow. This is not loss, it is refinement. God reshapes desire so that when blessing comes, it meets a heart capable of recognizing its true value. Temporary pleasures fade quickly, but a life aligned with purpose leaves a lasting imprint. You are learning to hunger for what endures, and that hunger itself is a gift. There is a hidden courage in continuing to believe when results are not immediate. The world celebrates instant outcomes, but God often works through gradual transformation. Each day you choose integrity over convenience, forgiveness over bitterness, faith over fear. You are participating in a process that may not be visible yet is profoundly effective. Heaven measures progress differently than the world does. What seems slow to you may be perfectly timed in eternity. Being chosen also means learning to live with paradox. You are confident in God's promise, and yet humble about your own limitations. You are hopeful about the future, while remaining faithful in the present. You hold joy and sorrow together, trusting that neither defines the whole story. This balance is not easily achieved, but it is deeply grounding. It keeps you from despair on hard days and from pride on good ones. You may find that your compassion has grown sharper, that you are more aware of the quiet struggles of others. Pain has a way of widening the heart, making room for understanding where judgment once lived. This is part of your preparation. Great blessing requires great compassion, because what you receive is meant to bring life to others as well. Your sensitivity is not a weakness to be hardened, it is a strength to be guided by wisdom. At times, obedience will require letting go of paths that seemed promising. Closed doors can feel like rejection, but often they are protection. God sees outcomes you cannot, and His refusal is sometimes the most merciful answer you receive. Trust grows when you begin to believe that what is withheld is as intentio, null as what is given. The chosen life learns to say, "Not my will, but yours," not as resignation, but as confidence in a wisdom higher than its own. You may also notice that solitude has taken on a new meaning for you. Moments alone are no longer empty but reflective, spaces where prayer deepens and clarity emerges. Solitude is not isolation when it is shared with God. It becomes a place of renewal, where your identity is strengthened apart from noise and comparison. In these quiet moments, you are reminded that your worth does not depend on recognition, but on relationship. As your journey continues, you may be called to stand firm when others compromise, to speak gently when others shout, to remain steady when others rush. This steadiness is not stubbornness, it is rootedness. A tree does not apologize for its roots, nor does it hurry its growth. It draws nourishment quietly, steadily, until one day its presence offers shade and shelter to those who need it. Your life is becoming such a place, even if you cannot yet see the full extent of its reach. There will be seasons when faith feels effortless, when gratitude flows naturally and hope feels light. Receive those seasons with humility and joy. They are gifts meant to strengthen you for times when faith requires more effort. Do not fear the ebb and flow of spiritual life. It is not a sign of inconsistency, but of life itself. What matters is not constant intensity, but enduring commitment. You are learning that trust is built not on explanations, but on experience. Looking back, you can begin to trace patterns of provision, moments when help arrived unexpectedly, when strength appeared just as yours was failing. These memories become anchors in future storms. They remind you that God's faithfulness is not theoretical, it has already met you in tangible ways. What He has done before informs what you dare to believe for what lies ahead. Being chosen invites you into a different understanding of success. Success is no longer defined solely by achievement, but by alignment. A life lived in step with God's purpose carries a quiet confidence that external measures cannot provide. You may accomplish much or little by worldly standards, but if your life reflects love, truth, and faithfulness, it is rich beyond measure. This perspective frees you from comparison and allows you to run your own race with endurance. At times, the calling may feel costly. You may be asked to forgive when you would rather remember, to give when resources feel limited, to trust when evidence is thin. These moments test not only your faith, but your willingness. Yet each sacrifice made in obedience deepens your freedom. What you surrender loosens its hold on you, making space for something better to take root. You may also discover that joy and responsibility often arrive together. Blessing carries weight, not to burden you, but to ground you. It invites maturity, discernment, and gratitude. You are being trained to hold good things without clinging too tightly, to receive with open hands and relay. Arse with open hearts. This posture keeps blessing from becoming an idol and allows it to remain a gift. As your understanding grows, you may become less concerned with proving yourself and more interested in being faithful. The need for validation fades as purpose becomes clearer. You no longer strive to be seen, you strive to be true. This shift brings peace because it places your life back into God's hands rather than the unstable opinions of others. You are chosen not to escape difficulty, but to carry hope through it. Your endurance becomes a quiet testimony that suffering does not have the final word. Even when circumstances remain unresolved, your trust speaks. It tells a story of resilience rooted not in denial, but in faith. Others may draw strength from your steadiness without ever knowing how much it cost you to maintain it. The journey continues to invite you into deeper dependence. Self-reliance slowly gives way to prayerful trust. You learn that asking for help is not failure, but humility. God often provides through people, through timely words, through unexpected opportunities. Recognizing these provisions requires attentiveness, a heart willing to see grace in ordinary places. As you move forward, you may sense a growing clarity about what truly matters. Distractions lose their grip, and your focus sharpens. This clarity does not make life simpler, but it makes decisions more honest. You become more willing to choose what aligns with your values even when it costs you convenience or approval. This integrity strengthens your sense of self and deepens your peace. You are also learning patience with yourself. Growth takes time, and perfection was never the expectation. Grace allows room for learning, for missteps, for restoration. When you stumble, you are invited not into shame, but into repentance that restores perspective and renews strength. Each return to God reinforces the truth that your relationship with Him is not fragile, but resilient. The chosen path often leads you to serve quietly without recognition. Acts of kindness done in secret shape your character more deeply than public praise ever could. These unseen moments matter. They form habits of love that become second nature. When blessing comes into the light, it will rest on a foundation built in the dark. You may notice that gratitude has become a discipline rather than a reaction. You choose to give thanks, not because everything is perfect, but because God is present. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is being sustained. It anchors your heart in trust and opens your eyes to ongoing provision. As time passes, your faith becomes less about seeking certainty and more about embracing mystery. You accept that not every question will be answered, not every tension resolved. This acceptance does not weaken faith, it deepens it. It allows you to rest in God's character rather than your comprehension. You continue to walk forward, sometimes with confidence, sometimes with hesitation, but always with a willingness to keep going. The story is still being written, each step adding depth and meaning. You may not yet see where it leads, but you know who walks with you, and that knowledge steadies your pace. And so the days unfold, carrying both challenge and promise, shaping you in ways you may only fully understand in hindsight, as you remain attentive to the quiet work happening within you. Aware that each moment of trust, each act of obedience, each prayer whispered or spoken aloud is weaving together a life marked by purpose and grace. A life that continues to grow toward the fullness of what it was always meant to become, even as the path stretches onward, inviting you to keep walking, to keep listening, and to keep trusting without yet arriving at an ending, as the journey itself continues to speak, to form, and to unfold beyond what has already been revealed. As the journey stretches onward, you begin to realize that faith matures not by escaping uncertainty, but by learning how to live within it, without losing hope. There is a quiet strength that forms when you stop demanding immediate clarity and instead allow trust to steady you step by step. You learn that God rarely reveals the entire path at once, not to confuse you, but to draw you closer, inviting daily dependence rather than distant confidence. Each morning becomes an act of trust, each decision a small offering placed gently into His hands. You may notice that your prayers have changed. Once they may have been filled with urgent requests and detailed plans, but now they carry more listening than speaking. You find yourself less concerned with controlling outcomes and more attentive to alignment. There is a peace that comes when prayer becomes less about persuasion and more about communion, less about getting answers and more about staying close. This shift does not mean you care less, it means you trust more deeply. There will be moments when obedience feels like standing still while the world rushes past you. Others seem to advance quickly, collecting achievements and applause, while your own progress feels hidden and slow. In these moments, comparison will attempt to steal your joy. Yet you are learning that speed is not the same as direction. A hurried life can still be lost, while a steady one, even if slow, can be profoundly purposeful. Your pace is not a mistake. It is tailored to the work being done within you. The chosen life often involves learning to carry unanswered prayers with grace. Some hopes remain unfulfilled longer than expected, and some dreams appear to fade entirely. Yet even these losses are not wasted. They teach you to anchor your identity not in outcomes but in relationship. You begin to understand that God's presence is not a consolation prize for unfulfilled desires, but the greatest gift of all. From this place you can hold both hope and surrender without contradiction. As your understanding deepens, you become more aware of how easily fear disguises itself as wisdom. Fear urges caution when courage is required, silence when truth is needed, retreat when faith calls you forward. Discernment grows as you learn to recognize this voice and gently refuse it. Courage does not always roar, often it speaks quietly, asking you to take the next small step despite uncertainty. Each time you choose courage, even in subtle ways, your confidence in God's faithfulness strengthens. You may also notice how your capacity for forgiveness has expanded, not because wounds have disappeared, but because bitterness has lost its appeal. Carrying resentment grows heavy, and you become unwilling to let past pain define your present posture. Forgiveness becomes an act of freedom rather than forgetfulness. It does not deny hurt, it releases control. In forgiving, you align yourself with grace, making room for healing that bitterness would have blocked. The chosen path often invites you to see people differently. You become slower to judge and quicker to listen. You recognize that every person carries unseen burdens and hidden stories. This awareness softens your interactions, turning ordinary encounters into opportunities for compassion. You may never know how a simple word or gesture affects someone else, but you trust that love, even when quiet, carries weight. At times, you may feel stretched between what you know God has promised and what you currently experience. This tension can feel uncomfortable, even painful. Yet it is within this tension that faith becomes active rather than theoretical. You learn to live between promise and fulfillment, allowing hope to shape your actions even before results appear. This is not denial, it is anticipation grounded in trust. You may find that joy has become less dependent on circumstances. It arises not from everything going well, but from knowing that even when things go poorly, you are not alone. This joy is resilient, it bends without breaking. It exists alongside sorrow without being extinguished by it. Such joy is not loud, but it is deep, and it sustains you through seasons that would otherwise feel overwhelming. There is also a growing awareness that your life is interconnected with others in ways you may never fully see. Choices you make in faith can ripple outward, affecting people you may never meet. This realization adds weight to your decisions, not in a way that paralyzes you, but in a way that calls you to intentionality. You begin to live with a sense of stewardship, understanding that your actions carry influence beyond your immediate awareness. As time unfolds, you may experience moments when God's faithfulness feels unmistakably close, as though heaven briefly leans into your ordinary day. These moments do not eliminate struggle, but they strengthen resolve. They become reminders that the unseen is real, that prayer matters, that obedience is noticed. You carry these moments with you, drawing on them when faith feels costly. You also learn to accept help with greater humility. Independence once felt like strength, but now you recognize that community is part of God's design. Allowing others to support you does not diminish your calling, it enriches it. Through shared burdens and mutual encouragement, you experience grace in tangible form. You discover that God often answers prayers through the kindness and presence of others. The longer you walk this path, the more you realize that transformation is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly, almost imperceptibly, through repeated choices made in ordinary moments. One day you look back and realize that your reactions have changed, your priorities have shifted, your fears no longer hold the same power. This gradual change is evidence of a faithful process unfolding over time. You may encounter seasons where motivation wanes and spiritual practices feel dry. Prayer feels routine, and scripture feels distant. These seasons can tempt you to believe that something is wrong. Yet dryness does not always indicate absence, sometimes it invites perseverance. Continuing to show up, even without emotional reward, builds endurance. Faithfulness in dryness often leads to depth that excitement alone cannot produce. Being chosen also means learning to rest without guilt. Rest becomes an act of trust, a declaration that the world does not depend on your constant effort. In rest, You acknowledge your limits and honor God's sufficiency. NC. This rest is not laziness but renewal. It replenishes strength and restores perspective, allowing you to re-engage with life from a place of balance rather than exhaustion. You become increasingly aware of how words shape reality. The way you speak about yourself, your future, and your circumstances carries power. Negativity and despair no longer feel harmless. They feel misaligned with truth. You learn to speak with honesty tempered by hope, acknowledging difficulty without surrendering expectation. This discipline of speech reinforces faith and guards your heart against discouragement. As your trust deepens, generosity becomes more natural. You give not only from abundance but from faith, trusting that provision is not a finite resource. Generosity shifts your focus outward, reminding you that blessing flows most freely when shared. Whether through time, resources, or attention, giving becomes an expression of gratitude rather than obligation. You may also notice a growing sensitivity to God's timing. What once felt like delay now feels deliberate. You begin to recognize that certain blessings would have overwhelmed you earlier, while now you are better equipped to receive them. This understanding replaces frustration with patience. You learn to wait without resentment, trusting that timing is part of the gift. The chosen life often requires resilience in the face of misunderstanding. Others may misinterpret your choices or question your convictions. You learn that being understood by everyone is neither possible nor necessary. What matters is remaining faithful to what you believe God has asked of you. This faithfulness may cost approval, but it brings integrity and peace. As your story continues, you may find yourself drawn towards service in ways that surprise you. Needs become more visible, and compassion stirs action. You realize that purpose is not always found in grand gestures, but in consistent acts of love. Serving others becomes a way of participating in God's ongoing work, a way of turning faith into lived expression. You are also learning to celebrate progress without dismissing remaining challenges. Growth does not eliminate struggle, but it changes how you face it. You approach difficulties with greater confidence, knowing that you have endured before and been sustained. This confidence is not arrogance, it is memory shaped by grace. The path continues to unfold with both familiarity and surprise. Some days feel like steady continuation, others like unexpected turns. Yet through it all, there is a growing sense of coherence, as though disparate experiences are gradually forming a meaningful pattern. You may not yet see the full design, but you trust the hand guiding it. And so you keep walking, attentive to the quiet lessons hidden in ordinary days, aware that each choice, each prayer, each act of trust is contributing to a life being carefully shaped for purpose. A life that continues to deepen, to widen and to mature as you remain open to the ongoing work of grace, moving forward without rushing toward an ending, allowing the story to keep breathing, to keep forming, and to keep calling you onward into what is still unfolding, unseen yet steadily approaching as the journey remains open, alive, and unfinished. And now, as this long journey of words comes to rest, let your heart be still for a moment and recognize what has been quietly unfolding all along. You are not an accident wandering through borrowed time, nor a hopeful soul clinging to empty promises. You are chosen, not for a shallow triumph, but for a life rooted in purpose, shaped by grace, and sustained by a faith that has been tested and refined. Every season you have walked through, every delay, every unanswered prayer, every moment of quiet endurance has been part of a deliberate forming. Nothing was wasted, nothing was overlooked. The same God who called you has carried you, and the same hand that has guided you through uncertainty will lead you into fulfillment. The blessings prepared for you are not merely things you will one day hold. They are truths already alive within you, strength that did not exist before hardship, compassion born from pain, wisdom shaped by waiting, and hope that refuses to die. As you step forward from here, do so with humility and confidence intertwined, knowing that you do not walk alone, and you do not walk without purpose. Trust the timing, honor the process, and remain faithful in the present moment. What has been promised will come, not as a sudden reward detached from your journey, but as a natural unfolding of all you have become along the way. And when it does, you will recognize it not only as a blessing received, but as a calling fulfilled, a testimony lived, and a life aligned with the eternal goodness that chose you from the very beginning.